Good morning. In the last class, I was telling you we just have to solve one problem left with MOSFET amplifiers. We wrote the model for MOSFET amplifier. Okay. We had written the model for MOSFET amplifier as you see. This model which represented the equivalent circuit of any MOSFET in an amplifier. So whenever I see a MOSFET in an amplifier circuit, especially when it is operating under small signal conditions, then I will just put this electrical equivalent model for the MOSFET and then I will be able to analyze the amplifier. Okay. And we also discussed the similarities and all that. The problem with respect to this, I posted it on the YouTube video. I told you you can every time you just go through the my channel, you will be seeing the new videos of our classes being posted there. With this told, let's move on to module 2, where we discuss about MOSFET amplifiers, the high frequency model. Whatever model we wrote till now would represent the MOSFET under low frequencies only. Low and let's say in middle frequencies, we can use that model. But when we come to high frequency operation, you have something known as device capacitances. We have device capacitances coming into picture. So when device capacitances come into picture, what do you mean by device capacitance? The capacitance between, so there is a capacitance between gate and drain. Okay, and there will be a capacitance between gate and source. There will be a capacitance between drain and source. We call them as device capacitances. And these capacitances come into action during high frequency operations. At low frequencies, these capacitances are negligible. They don't cause any variations. So we don't consider these capacitances at low frequency operations. But during high frequency operations, these capacitances have a significant effect on the behavior of the MOSFET. So we'll have to take them into account whenever we write the model. That's why we will write a different high frequency model for MOSFET, where all these device capacitances will come into picture. And once we do that, we will be able to do the frequency response of amplifiers. What do we mean by frequency response? It is in the lab you should have done, right? If you have started CE amplifier, you would have done this frequency response. It is a plot of gain versus frequency. Usually this frequency or the x-axis is plotted in what? It is plotted on a logarithmic scale. The x-axis will be on a log scale and we'll use factors of 10. Say here if the frequency is 10 Hertz, at the next point the frequency will be 100, then equidistant point 1K, 10K, 100K, so on. So when I multiply it by a factor of 10, we consider this variation as how much? 1 decade. So 1 decade of frequencies is variation by a factor of 10. The given frequency into 10, that difference, this difference will be 1 decade. Okay. So whenever you plot gain versus frequency, such a plot is known as the frequency response. Ideal frequency response, we want it to be a straight line, but practically what happens, the frequency response will be like this. Okay. Ideally, you would want the frequency response that to look something like this. It should have a constant gain at all frequencies, but that doesn't happen practically. The gain varies with frequencies, and hence what model I should consider to prove this and analyze the amplifier at low frequencies, what model I should consider to analyze the amplifier at high frequencies and prove that the gain decreases at high as well as low frequencies, whereas gain remains constant at middle frequencies. All that is done when we do the frequency response analysis. So for an amplifier, we are going to take and do its frequency response analysis and prove why the amplifier gain will not remain constant at all frequencies and why it varies like this. And lastly, they have included a small portion of oscillators also in this module itself. You will be studying about 3 different oscillators with just quantitative, like qualitative analysis, no derivations as shown in the syllabus. See, this is the syllabus for module 2. Firstly, we'll start with MOSFET amplifier configurations. We'll be discussing 3 different configurations of MOSFET amplifiers which are commonly used everywhere. Then we'll talk about the internal capacitances and the high frequency model, a new model which approximates behavior of MOSFET at high frequencies. And later on, we'll talk about frequency response of MOSFET amplifiers, basically the common source amplifier, and finally oscillators. So let's start off without spending more time here on the basic MOSFET amplifier configurations. We know that what is the when does a MOSFET work as an amplifier? In which region? MOSFET amplifies. Please answer. MOSFET amplifies in,
Saturation.
yes, in the saturation region of its operation. Please remember this. Which is that saturation region? In the characteristic curve, this region is called as the saturation region. And in this region, we have linear relationship between what? Drain current ID and the drain source voltage VDS. If I write this is output characteristics or drain characteristics. If I write transfer characteristics, it will be a plot of ID versus VGS. Here also, we'll first fix the operating point. We'll fix the Q point by fixing the value of ID. This is the ID which we fix, and the gate source voltage. We'll fix these two and we'll fix the operating point. So step 1 is use DC source with resistors to fix Q point, which is what? It involves these two parameters, VGS and ID. So this is known as the bias analysis or the biasing analysis. Step 2, once we finish the biasing analysis, we'll do small signal analysis. Small signal analysis by, please remember this, by replacing all coupling capacitors with short circuits and DC voltage sources with short circuits, or if they have any internal resistances or their internal resistances. So remember this point, whenever we are doing amplifier analysis. So whenever we do small signal analysis, You should replace all the coupling capacitors in the circuit with short circuits for AC operation. Remember, here we are doing AC operation. Amplifier part means it is basically DC plus AC. In the biasing part, we do DC analysis. In the amplifier part, we do small signal or AC analysis. Okay. So here we are replacing capacitors with short circuits, and any DC voltage sources will also be replaced with short circuits or internal resistances. Then when we do this, we call that as AC equivalent circuit. Such a circuit of amplifier where all coupling capacitors are replaced with shorts and DC voltage sources are also replaced with short circuits or their internal resistors is known as AC equivalent circuit. Whereas when we do biasing analysis, we'll retain only DC sources. Retain only DC sources. So then this is known as DC equivalent circuit. Biasing analysis is done. So here what happens to AC sources? Here AC sources are shorted. Remember, AC sources are shorted. And can you tell me what will happen to capacitors? Under DC operations, what will happen to capacitors? Yes? How do capacitors respond to a DC signal?
Doesn't allow DC signals.
Capacitors will block DC signal. They don't allow DC signal to pass through. So coupling capacitors should be replaced with open circuits for DC operation. Please remember, whenever you're considering DC or biasing operation, an amplifier looks something like this. Remember, an amplifier will have AC as well as DC. So whenever I have AC and DC signals, say I can have a coupling capacitor C1 here. I'm just taking an example amplifier. Okay. This is the DC voltage source. This is the load resistance, the degeneration or source resistance, the biasing resistors R1, R2. I'll have coupling capacitors CC1 and CC2, and I can have an external load also RL, something like that. This can be an amplifier circuit. This is the input signal, and this is the resistance of the signal source R sig. So these capacitors which couple, so this is part of the voltage source. The voltage source or the signal generator which we connect. The signal generator or voltage source will give us some AC voltage, and there will always be some resistance offered by that signal generator. Okay. So this R sig represents the internal resistance of the signal generator, and V sig represents the amount of AC voltage given by the signal generator. So this both these things are part of the AC voltage source or the signal generator. Now, if I have to connect such a AC voltage source to an amplifier, it is normally done through a coupling capacitor. Why do we use coupling capacitors? What is the use of coupling capacitors? The simple reason why coupling capacitors are used are to isolate the DC conditions, isolate the DC conditions of the signal source and the amplifier. That means I don't want any DC voltage on the signal source to reach the amplifier, or any DC voltage and current of the amplifier to damage the signal source. I want to separate the DC of amplifier with that of the signal source. Similarly, here I want the DC of the amplifier. Remember, this part is the amplifier. What we have here, this is the amplifier part. If I want to replace if I want to separate the DC voltages and current of the amplifier from not reaching the load resistor, or this load can also be next cascaded stage of amplifier. I can have a cascade, the same amplifier can be repeated 3 or 4 times when we are designing for a high gain circuit. Please remember, we rarely use a single stage of amplifier. The gain provided by a single stage is never sufficient for normal usage. So usually we will use multi-stage amplifiers where we can repeat the same amplifier 3 times, or I can use different amplifiers connected together. So when I connect multiple amplifiers together, we call them as cascaded amplifiers. Cascaded amplifiers or cascaded stages of amplifiers. And when we do this cascade, please remember the input resistance of one stage will be acting like output resistance of the previous stage. So whatever is the input resistance of this stage, that will act like load resistance of the previous stage because they are connected. Similarly, the output resistance of this stage will act like the signal generator resistance for the. So whatever voltage I have, the output voltage and the resistance of this amplifier stage, it will be acting like the signal generator and internal resistance for the next stage, input side. So Vsig, Rsig will be the V0 and R0 of this amplifier. So in cascaded stages, we have to take great care to isolate the DC conditions of one stage from the other. That's the reason why we normally use capacitor coupling. Is that clear? So to isolate DC conditions of the signal generator with amplifier or amplifier with load or different cascaded amplifier stages, okay, or different cascaded amplifier stages, we have to use this coupling capacitor. Can somebody tell me why capacitors block DC and why do they allow AC? What is the reasoning behind that? Please tell me. Why you told that right. Why capacitors don't allow DC?
Ma'am, the impedance equation of a capacitor is 1 by 2 pi Fc. For DC signals, there is no frequency. So the impedance will be very high and hence they do not allow.
Good. So the reactance of the capacitor or the impedance of the capacitor is given as 1 by 2 pi Fc. And for DC conditions, what happens? F is 0. Frequency is 0 for DC operation. Therefore, Xc becomes very high, infinity. 1 by 0 tends to be very large value or infinity. Hence, C blocks DC currents and voltages. Whereas for AC operation, what happens? You have a finite frequency. So F is a finite value. Okay. So Xc will also be a finite impedance or reactance, whatever. Hence, AC is allowed. So It may not be allowed completely based on the value of the impedance offered. It can have a part of it dropped across the capacitance and the rest it can allow. Or if F is very, very high, for high values of frequencies, Xc will be almost 0. If the denominator is very high, the reactance of the capacitor becomes almost 0. Hence, it allows high frequencies freely. It allows high frequency signals. Please remember this. And just for the sake of remembrance, one of the students had answered in Viva some 3 years back or so. Anyway, it's good for you to remember also. Based on the representation of capacitors, how do I represent a DC signal? You know, DC signals are represented as a straight line. Say 5 volts will be represented like this. So he said this capacitor acts like a wall and anything which is coming straight is blocked. This capacitor would act like a wall and it would block a signal which is coming straight like this. Whereas, how do you represent an AC signal? An AC signal has positive and negative variations. So he said the signal would pass through this wall like this, or it would pass through the capacitance. Anyway, you can use this analogy to remember the capacitor blocks DC and allows AC. Okay, simple, but that's not the right answer, but it would help you remember. Okay, so coming to the amplifier analysis, let us see the 3 basic configurations of MOSFET amplifiers. 3 basic configurations of MOSFET amplifiers. Just like BJT amplifiers which we had discussed, we'll have similar configurations. Remember, we should use the 2-port model where one terminal, because MOSFETs are, again, we consider 3 terminal devices. One terminal is common between input and output ports. Please remember, 2-port model means I should have an input port. Okay, 1 dash, this is the input port and the output port. So I need 4 terminals, but since we have only 3 terminal devices used, as transistors are generally 3 terminal devices, or even if MOSFET is a 4 terminal, we use only 3 terminals here. So we'll take one port as common. Usually we short this and we make that as the common port whenever we consider MOSFET amplifiers. So let me consider the first type of MOSFET amplifier, the common source. This is similar to the common emitter amplifier, common source or CS amplifier. It is very similar to the CE amplifier. So can you tell me how to represent that? It looks something like this. I am not showing biasing circuit and all that. I'll just show this source terminal should be the common terminal. Input should be given, the AC input signal should be given between the gate and the source, and the output should be measured between. So I'll have the load resistance here. The output should be measured between the drain and the source. So the source terminal acts like the common terminal between input and output. Hence, this is called common source amplifier. And I told you it is analogous to the common emitter amplifier. Do you remember what is the major advantage of CE amplifier? Yes? Remember,
Power gain.
this is, yes?
Power
Both
gain.
current and voltage.
Exactly, you are
Provides
right.
both
This is the
current and
only
voltage
circuit which
gain.
provides power gain or both current and voltage gains, both, let's say AV and AI, current and voltage gain greater than 1. Please remember, hence common source amplifier is the most preferred MOSFET amplifier configuration. Okay. So next one is we'll be studying this in detail. We are going to analyze this circuit only first. The next one would be what? Common gate amplifier. So as the name indicates, the gate terminal should be the common terminal. So you have to ground the gate and input should be given between source and the gate. I'll connect the input signal here. So the common terminal is taken as the second terminal here. So this is the common terminal. Input is given between source and gate. And as usual, output is measured between drain and gate. So V0 output is measured here and this gate is grounded. That's why we call this as common gate amplifier. Usually this circuit produces voltage gain greater than unity, but current gain is less than or equal to 1. Remember, common gate amplifier will give you a voltage gain which is high, but current gain will be less. And the third configuration, which is commonly used, another commonly used configuration is the common drain configuration, also known as the source follower. So in BJTs, this is analog to the CC amplifier. And what about this? Common gate is analogous to the common base amplifier of BJTs. Okay. So can you draw the circuit of common drain amplifier? As I told you, whichever terminal is supposed to be common, you have to bring that terminal to ground. Here the drain should be brought to ground. Input will be given between the gate and drain. So the input voltage is given between the gate and the drain and the output will be measured. I'll have the load resistance here. Output is measured from source to drain. Okay. So this is called common drain configuration, where the drain terminal is grounded. It is the common terminal now. And input is between gate and drain. So drain is the common and output is between source and the drain. Okay. And here what happens, by the name itself you can guess. Here the output voltage will follow the input voltage. So you will get AV approximately equal to 1, slightly less than or equal to 1, and AI will be greater than 1. So just opposite of what happened in common gate amplifier. Here voltage gain was more, current gain was less. Here current gain will be more, voltage gain will be less. Is that clear? And because the output voltage is measured at the source and it follows the input voltage, we call this circuit as source follower. This is also commonly used for many applications. So usually we'll be studying this first one and the last one in our current semester. They are the most important ones which we will analyze. Okay, before starting to analyze each individual amplifiers, we have to do something known as characterization of amplifiers. What do you mean by characterizing amplifiers? Okay. So what are the important parameters or important characteristics which we are going to measure in a amplifier circuit that we should see? So let's do the characterization of amplifiers. In a MOSFET amplifier, if we have to characterize an amplifier, let me just consider a simple amplifier as a building block. Please remember, usually we will represent amplifier as a triangle turned this side or arrowhead. Normally amplifiers are represented like this. We know this is the common representation. So I'll just represent a simple amplifier which forms a simple building block here, and let us connect what? The input signal and from a signal source, and let us also connect the load resistance. So to this, let me connect an AC input signal Vsig, and when I connect a signal generator, there will always be an internal resistance in that generator associated with this Rsig. So if this voltage is Vsig and this is Rsig, I remember I will have a common terminal. One of the terminals will be common between input and output, that I am representing like this. This is the common terminal. So common source, common drain, whichever is the common terminal, that one this is. And do you think all this voltage will come as input to this amplifier? This is the amplifier which we are writing in detail like this. I had drawn an amplifier here, including biasing resistors, the MOSFET, load resistor, source resistor, everything. That amplifier I'm just representing with a triangle. Okay. Now, what did I ask? Is the voltage here, will it be equal to this voltage?
No.
No, the voltage here will not be equal to this voltage, because generally an amplifier will have a small amount of internal resistance. And what will happen? This voltage gets divided between this its own resistance Rsig and the resistance offered by the input resistance offered by the amplifier. So I will have Vi usually will be less than Vsig. Under what condition can Vi be considered equal to Vsig? When the signal generator resistance becomes 0, then all this voltage passes on here. Or when I can say Rsig is much less than Ri. The input resistance of the amplifier, if it is very high or very large. Remember, I told you there will be a resistance. If at all, if Ri is much greater than Rsig, then I can consider Vsig as approximately equal to Vi. So the voltage which comes to the input of the amplifier will almost be same as Vsig. Okay, it is almost like saying this is a negligible resistance. When I say this is 1 mega ohm and this is 10 ohms or 100 ohms, I can easily neglect this 100 ohms in comparison with 1 mega. You can expect maximum signal. If I have 1 volt signal here, all the 1 volt will come here. Maybe 0.001 volt may drop here, which is negligible. Okay, that's what I mean when I say if all the voltage which is given by the signal generator should reach the amplifier, then it is important that the input resistance of the amplifier be very large when compared to the internal resistance of the signal generator. Okay, let's consider how that works anyway. And on the output side, I should normally include a load resistance. Let me include a load resistance RL, and we are going to measure the output voltage across this. Okay, and I can consider the current coming out is I naught. The current here is input current is II and output current is I naught. Here you just say consider a simple amplifier with gain A, input resistance Ri, and output resistance R naught. We'll include that in the next circuit. First thing, I should find, I can replace now. Let's say I have this triangle. I'm just expanding so that I can replace it with the corresponding what? Input resistance. I have the input resistance Ri on the input side of the amplifier. Okay. And on the output side of the amplifier, we'll have two important elements. One is, let me use a what? Diamond shape. If I use a circular shape for source, it will mean it is an independent source. Here I have a dependent voltage source. Okay, I have a dependent voltage source, AV times VI. Let me write this, where VI is the input coming to the amplifier and AV represents the voltage gain of the amplifier. So voltage gain into input voltage will give you the value of output voltage. But what happens is whatever output voltage we get here, we'll not be able to get the output here completely because the circuit will have some output resistance R0. So every circuit has some output resistance R0. So whatever amount of voltage will come to the final load resistance from this dependent voltage source, it will be split among R0 and RL. I have two resistors across this voltage source and this voltage will get split between the two. And this representation which I have used inside the amplifier is Thevenin's equivalent circuit for an amplifier. It's a simple Thevenin's equivalent replacement. Why Thevenin's? Because I have considered voltage source in series with resistance here. On the input side, it's always one large input resistance Ri. There I don't need Thevenin's, Norton's, anything. But if I use a voltage source in series with resistance, it is called Thevenin's equivalent circuit. And what else do I have on the input side here? So this is the replacement inside the amplifier I'm considering. And to the input of the amplifier, we have considered V signal in series with R sig. So let me write that. I have R sig coming here and V sig. And then what do I have connected on the output side? It is the load resistance RL. So here, okay, we have already connected it. Let me show this. The load resistance RL is connected, across which we are going to measure the output voltage. Output current I0 flows here input current II flows here. This is the signal generator or source resistance. Often we can call this as Vs and this as Rs. So whether I write it as V sig or Vs, it's one and the same. R sig or Rs, it's one and the same. So what have we done here? We have just replaced the amplifier with an internal circuit, and that internal circuit has a simple input resistance which is offered by the amplifier on the input side, and it is replaced with a dependent voltage source whose voltage depends on the input voltage Vi, and in series with an output resistance R0. So this is called Norton's equivalent circuit. And please remember, these are common. All these are common terminals. It's a common ground. Okay. Now, in this circuit, can you tell me what would be the value of the input voltage Vi? How do you determine the value of Vi?
Vi minus drop across R sig.
Okay, V sig minus drop across R sig. Or if you know V sig and if you know it is split across two resistors, voltage divider rule. Vi is the voltage across one resistor. See, it is as simple as this. This V sig is split across two resistors. One is R sig, the other is Ri. I am interested in finding what is this voltage across Ri. What would it be? Vi would be V sig into the resistance across which I should find the voltage, that is Ri, divided by the sum of the two resistors R sig plus Ri. Yes or no? Using voltage divider rule, the total input voltage is split across two resistors. I am trying to find the voltage drop across one of them. So the voltage drop across one resistor would be main voltage into resistance of that branch divided by sum of the two resistors. Hence, this is how you determine the voltage which appears at the input of this actual amplifier. So this is the, let's say, actual voltage, actual input voltage for the amplifier. So even if I connect 1 volt here, there is a chance that only 0.1 volt will reach the amplifier if this signal generator resistance is considerably large, or if this input impedance of the amplifier is small. Please remember that. I told you, hence, for V sig to be approximately equal to Vi, we want all the signal generator voltage to reach the amplifier. R sig should be much less than Ri. Remember this. So this is possible by either making R sig very small in the source, and suppose I don't have a source and I'm using cascaded amplifier stages. So then V sig and R sig would be the output voltage and resistance of the previous stage. So then you don't have much control. So you can try to make R sig as small as possible, or make Ri as large as possible. So it is preferred for a voltage amplifier to always have a very high input resistance. Please remember this point. Hence, voltage amplifiers should have what? Very high input resistance Ri. Okay. So please remember this. Hence, parameter 1 to be determined in an amplifier is input resistance Ri. So I'll call it as Rin. Can you tell me how to find Rin here? Rin would be the resistance offered by the amplifier to the external signal source. So whatever I have externally here, to that external connection, whatever is the resistance offered by the amplifier, that we are going to call it as its input resistance. And can you determine Rin from this circuit? What would be the value of Rin? What is the voltage here? Vi. What is the current going to the amplifier? Ii. So the voltage across the amplifier is Vi and the current going into the amplifier is Ii. So can't I find what is the value of resistance? It would simply be Vi by Ii. Okay. So the first and foremost parameter which we are going to determine in an amplifier is its input resistance Rin, which can be determined as the input to the amplifier input voltage divided by the input current. It gives you a resistance. So what will be the resistance offered by this block? Even if I have a black box here, it is very easy for me to find the input resistance. You apply some voltage and you find what is the current drawn by that black box. You divide the voltage with current, you will be able to find the resistance. So what is the resistance offered by that black box? You can find by simply applying a voltage and finding how much current it is going to draw. So V by I gives you the input resistance of the amplifier. And in this case, you can see Rin is equal to Ri here. Both are equal, but very often they will be different. We will have biasing resistors, we will have signal generator resistance, all that. Very often this turns out to be different. Is that clear? This is, let me call, okay, I'll call this as equation 1. First thing what we are seeing is all the applied voltage from a signal generator will not reach the input side of the amplifier because of this signal generator resistance R sig. Only a portion of this applied voltage will reach the input of the amplifier, and that portion is Vi. Vi represents that portion of the signal generator voltage which reaches the amplifier actually. That we have determined using voltage divider rule. Then we determine the input resistance of this amplifier circuit, which is the voltage applied at the input divided by the current flowing through the input. Okay. And one more reason, I was telling you why we use this arrowhead or triangular shape like this to represent amplifiers. Can somebody guess? Or if you actually know the reason, can you tell me? Why do we use this arrowhead? What does an arrow usually indicate?
Large input resistance, small output resistance.
Okay, usually when do we use an arrow? It points the direction of signal flow. Here, the signal flows what? From input, flows from input side to output side. We call this as unilateral. Remember, what is unilateral? When signal flows only in one direction, from the input side to output side, there is no feedback in this circuit. Please remember that. In a circuit, when signal flows always in one direction without any feedback, we call that circuit as unilateral. This is unilateral from input to output side. I can have some circuits where unilateral would be from output to input side. We call that as a feedback circuit. But here an amplifier circuit is one where signal always flows from input to output side. So we call it as unilateral. Please remember that. Okay. So after this, next we will determine the second parameter which we will determine is called the open circuit voltage gain. What is this open circuit voltage gain? We represent it as AVO. Open circuit voltage gain is represented as AVO. It is the voltage gain when the output load is removed. I am going to remove the load. I will open circuit or make RL infinity. Here, whatever RL you had, you are going to make it infinity. Then whatever output voltage you get, that is known as open circuit voltage gain. As usual, this amplifier has, what? This amplifier has a dependent voltage source and an output impedance. The value of this is AV times VI. Here I have a resistance Ri. Here I have the input voltage Vi. Here you have Rsig. And this is your independent voltage source Vsig coming from the signal generator. Okay. So here in the previous case, we would have RL there. RL was the external load resistance which was connected across the output, and we measured the voltage across that. But if this RL is removed or if it is made infinity, can you tell me what will happen to the output voltage? What would be the value of output voltage in this case when RL is not there? All network rules. See, you have a circuit like this. I'm just writing the output side, AVVI. I have a resistance like this. I'm supposed to find the voltage here, V0. What would be the value of V0? Yes? Will this resistance have any effect?
No, ma'am.
When I have an open circuit here, will this resistance have any effect on the working? Will there be a current flow in this circuit?
No, ma'am.
I will be 0. There is no current flow here. So what would be the value of V0? It would be equal to this voltage source. See, even if I have a resistance in series here, if I have opened this loop, there is no current flow. When there is no current flow, then there is no drop across this resistance. No voltage drop across this R0. So what will happen? Whatever voltage we have connected here, the same voltage will appear across the output terminals V0. Is that clear? So here V0 is AV times VI. Therefore, the open circuit voltage gain, we call this as open circuit voltage gain, AVO. AV open circuit is defined as V0 by VI, and V0 is given as AV into VI from this, divide by VI. So you'll have whatever voltage you are measuring here. And please remember, we'll do this whenever we find the open circuit voltage gain. It is found when the load resistance is open, infinite. You should not connect any load resistance, and whatever voltage you find, output voltage, that should be considered in the ratio of voltage gain. So output voltage by input voltage when the load is removed. That is called open circuit voltage gain. Okay. In this case, it is equivalent to AV itself. In other cases, it will vary. Have we given any equation numbers? Call this equation 2. Let me call this equation 3. Now, let us find another important parameter, the overall voltage gain. What would be the, here I have considered only a part of the voltage gain. Is Vi the actual input given? What is the actual input signal connected to this amplifier? It is Vsig. Vi is not the actual input. Vi is only the value which appears on the input of the amplifier. But actually, we have a measure of this voltage because this is the one which we are connecting from the signal generator. So, the overall voltage gain is defined as GV. We'll call this as GV. It is defined as final output voltage divided by the actual input voltage given in the circuit. Okay. So the final output voltage is V0 divided by actual input applied to this circuit is Vsig. Okay. So actually we will determine this as the overall voltage gain. Can you tell me how to find this? Again, one more thing. If RL is included, what will happen? If you put back RL here, can you tell me what will happen to V0? You say first, find V0 when RL is not infinity. What will be the value? I'll just write the output side. This is AV/Vi. You have R0 and here you have RL connected. And you are going to measure the output voltage across this RL. Can you tell me what is V0 now? Again, voltage divider rule. Total voltage.
Total voltage into R0 divided by V into R0 by R.
Okay. Into RL divided by R0 plus RL. Okay. So this is called the output voltage with load resistance present. When load resistance is not there, the output voltage is AVO. It is equal to AV. We saw AVO is equal to AV, whereas this I can call it as, let me say AV dash. Okay. So the voltage gain here is AV dash, which is V0 by Vi when RL is not infinity, when RL is present. So if RL is present, AV dash, what will it become? It becomes AV into RL by R0 plus RL. And what did we call this AV as? This AV was also named as AVO, open circuit voltage gain. Please understand this AVO and AV are one and the same here. Therefore, I can write AV dash, which is V0 by Vi with RL not equal to infinity, is AVO, open circuit voltage gain, into RL by R0 plus RL. This is another relation you can remember. So when you made RL infinity, AV would be equal to AVO, the open circuit voltage gain. But when RL is not infinity, its value would be something different. You see, R0 has an effect on the output impedance of the output impedance has an effect on the voltage gain. Okay. So I think it's time we'll stop.